When you reach the age of 65 and beyond, there are certain things you should keep to yourself in order to protect your relationships and maintain peace of mind. There are times when we say things we didn't truly mean, simply out of frustration or vulnerability. Have you ever said something in a moment of weakness, only to later think, I wish I had kept that to myself? Sometimes it's not because the words were untrue, but because they shift the balance of your relationships in ways you never intended. As we age, we not only accumulate wisdom but also regret. One of the greatest regrets people often express in their later years is revealing too much, giving away parts of themselves that should have remained private. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every worry, every regret, or every burden should be handed over to those around you. Even with family, there are things, 5 to be exact, that a wise person should learn to keep to themselves. Why? To protect yourself and those you love. If you don't, you may find yourself in a situation where no longer seen as strong, no longer respected, or perhaps even no longer truly heard. Let's walk through these 5 things, not to deceive, but to preserve, not to push others away, but to protect the dignity and peace that become more precious than gold as you grow older. Before we begin, I would really appreciate it if you liked this video. It helps me continue sharing important lessons. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend hitting the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. And if you enjoyed this video, please comment 1. If not, comment 0 so I know how I can improve. Now, let's get started. 1. Personal regrets. Regret is a heavy burden to carry, especially as the years pass and we reflect on the choices we've made. It's natural to want to unburden ourselves by sharing those regrets with family, hoping for understanding, relief, or even closure. But what many don't realize until it's too late is that revealing deep regrets can often do more harm than good. When a parent shares that they wish they had made different choices in life, whether it's a different career, partner, or path, it can unknowingly place a heavy burden on their children. A son who followed in his father's footsteps may begin to question his own career choices. A daughter who built her life on her parents' sacrifices may wonder if it was all a mistake. Regret, when spoken aloud, doesn't just stay in the past. It seeps into the present and can shape how our loved ones see themselves and their own decisions. Dwelling on regrets can rob us of today's joy. Family members may start to feel that their love is not enough, that no matter how much they give, they cannot erase the sorrow of the past. What should be light-hearted, warm conversations become overshadowed by the weight of, if only, turning moments of connection into reminders of past disappointments. This doesn't mean we should suppress our emotions or pretend we've never made mistakes, but it does mean we should be selective about what we share and how we share it. There's a difference between reflecting on the past with wisdom and drowning in it with sorrow. Let regret serve as a teacher, not a chain that holds us back or burdens our loved ones. When we do share, let it come from a place of growth rather than despair. Instead of lamenting missed opportunities, we can encourage our children to follow their own paths with courage. Instead of focusing on past relationships or mistakes, we can offer the wisdom we've gained without making them feel like they are the result of our failures. Words are powerful. When spoken with intention, they can heal or harm. The past cannot be rewritten, but the way we speak about it can shape the future. Let's use our experiences as guides for a life still full of possibilities, rather than as sources of sorrow. 2. Financial matters. Money is one of the most sensitive topics within a family, and how we discuss it can shape relationships in ways we never intended. As we age, it's natural to want to be open about our financial situation, whether we're struggling or comfortable. However, Too much transparency can lead to unintended consequences that strain relationships. When an elder speaks repeatedly about financial difficulties, their children, no matter how grown, may feel an obligation to step in, even at the expense of their own well-being. A son might begin cutting back on his own family's needs to support his aging parents, or a daughter might take on extra work, stretching herself thin out of guilt. Over time, what started as an act of love can turn into quiet resentment, not because they don't care, but because they feel trapped between their own responsibilities and the unspoken expectation to help solve financial struggles. On the flip side, revealing too much about financial success can create its own set of challenges. Wealth, whether modest or substantial, can change the way family members perceive one another. Some may develop a sense of entitlement, assuming that because an elder is financially secure, they are owed assistance, gifts, or inheritance. Others may feel jealousy, comparing their own struggles to someone else's perceived ease. Among siblings, unspoken tensions can arise. One sibling might feel another is receiving more than their fair share, or that future inheritances will be divided unfairly. What should be a source of security can quickly turn into a battleground of expectations and silent frustrations. Money, when discussed too openly, can weaken independence, encourage dependency, and even create distance where there should be closeness. That's why discretion is wisdom when it comes to financial matters. It's not about secrecy, it's about preserving dignity, respect, and the natural balance of relationships. Instead of burdening others with financial struggles, an elder can offer guidance on financial responsibility without making them feel responsible for fixing their problems. Instead of discussing wealth openly, they can model financial independence and generosity without creating expectations. The relationships that matter most should not be built on money, nor should they be tested by it. By managing financial discussions with care, we ensure that our bonds with family remain rooted in love and respect, not in transactions or obligation. True security comes not just from financial stability, but from the peace of knowing that our relationships remain strong, unshaken by the complexities of money. 3. Doubt opinions about family members. Family relationships are complex, layered with love, loyalty, and sometimes unspoken tensions. As we age, we may feel the urge to voice our honest opinions about family members, whether it's a son-in-law, we disapprove of a daughter's life choices, we question, or a sibling whose actions have disappointed us. It may feel like honesty, like we are simply speaking our truth, but what we often fail to realize is that once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. A single comment meant as an expression of frustration or concern can linger far longer than we intended, planting seeds of resentment and division that may never fully heal. A daughter who hears that her father disapproves of her husband may forever feel torn between the two men. She loves a son who listens to his mother, criticize his sister, may begin to see her differently, not through his own experiences, but through the lens of someone else's judgment. A casual remark once said can change the way family members see each other, sometimes permanently. The truth is, not every thought needs to be shared, and not every frustration deserves a voice. Expressing disappointment in a family member doesn't just release our own emotions, it shifts the emotional burden onto others. It forces them to navigate conflicts they may not have felt before, to carry the weight of choosing sides even when they don't want to. Family gatherings that should be filled with warmth and laughter may become clouded with tension as past words replay in the minds of those who were hurt by them. And while we may believe we are simply being honest, the reality is that honesty, without kindness, without discretion, can wound deeper than we ever intended. This isn't about suppressing feelings or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about choosing wisdom over impulse, peace over unnecessary conflict. If a family member makes choices we don't agree with, we must ask ourselves, does voicing our opinions serve a purpose? Does it bring healing or does it create division? There's a way to offer guidance without judgment, to share wisdom without condemnation, and sometimes the greatest wisdom of all is knowing when to stay silent. Relationships are fragile, built over years of shared love, trust, and experiences. They can be damaged in the moment, but they take a lifetime to repair. If we want to preserve the bonds that truly matter, we must learn to guard our words carefully, speaking only when they uplift and remaining silent when our words risk doing more harm than good. Respect is not just given. It is maintained through the choices we make every single day. 4. Health concerns. As we grow older, our health naturally becomes a bigger part of our daily lives. Aches and pains that once seemed temporary begin to linger. Doctor visits become more frequent, and the reality of aging settles in. It's only natural to want to share these struggles with family, to talk about the discomfort, the fears, the challenges that come with an aging body. But what many don't realize is that when health concerns dominate conversations, it can change the way our loved ones see us. Instead of being viewed as the strong, wise figures we have always been, we risk being seen primarily through the lens of frailty. The shift is subtle at first. A son who starts calling more out of concern rather than just a talk. A daughter who begins treating us as fragile rather than capable. While their intentions may be filled with love, the underlying message can feel disheartening. They see the illness more than they see the person. Beyond that, constantly discussing health issues can place an emotional burden on those who care about us. Our children, no matter how grown, still want to believe we are unshakable, that we are their anchor. In a world that is always changing, but when every conversation is filled with talk of ailments, medications, and declining health, it can make them feel helpless, powerless to change what they so desperately wish they could fix. Guilt begins to settle in. Even when they're doing their best, they may start feeling like no matter how much they check in, how much they care, it is never enough to ease our suffering. And that guilt can create emotional exhaustion, leading to distance, not because they don't love us, but because they don't know how to carry the weight of our struggles along with their own. This does not mean we should suffer in silence or hide serious health issues from those who need to know. But there is a difference between keeping loved ones informed and making illness the central theme of every conversation. Instead of focusing on what is failing, we can focus on what remains strong, on the love that still surrounds us, on the wisdom we can still share, on the moments of laughter and connection that are still ours to enjoy. Strength is not just about physical ability, it is about the way we choose to face each day. When we speak of health, let it be with balance, with honesty, but also with resilience. Because our loved ones don't just want to care for us, they want to enjoy us. And the best gift we can give them is the reassurance that we are still here, still living, still finding joy in the life we have left to live. 5 personal fears. Fear is a natural part of life, and as we grow older, it can become even more pronounced. We fear the unknown, the changes in our health, the possibility of loneliness, and the uncertainty of what lies ahead. It's tempting to share these fears with family, hoping for comfort, reassurance, or simply a listening ear. What we often don't realize is that constantly voicing our fears doesn't just affect us. It deeply impacts those we love. Our children, no matter how grown, still look to us as their source of strength and wisdom. When they hear us repeatedly speak of our fears, whether about aging, financial insecurity, or being alone, they may feel powerless to help, weighed down by an emotional burden they never asked to carry. The love they have for us makes them want to ease our worries. But when those worries have no clear solution, they're left with guilt, stress, and even helplessness. What was meant as an honest conversation can turn into an emotional weight that lingers long after the words are spoken, beyond the burden it places on loved ones. Constantly voicing our fears can change how they perceive us. Instead of seeing us as the resilient, capable individuals we have always been, they may begin to treat us as fragile, uncertain, or in need of protection. Decisions that once belonged to us may start being made for us, not out of disrespect, but out of an unspoken belief that we can no longer handle things on our own. A son may insist on taking over financial matters. A daughter may start micromanaging daily routines, all in an attempt to shield us from the very fears we have spoken about. And though their intentions are loving, the result can feel stifling, even disempowering, leaving us feeling less in control of our own lives. But perhaps the greatest danger of constantly speaking our fears is the way it shapes our own mindset. The more we give voice to fear, the more it takes root, growing larger and more powerful than it deserves to be. Fear should not dictate how we live, nor should it steal the joy from the time we still have. Instead of focusing on what we are afraid of, we can shift our perspective to what we can still control: the moments of love, the lessons we can pass on, the life we can continue to embrace. Strength is not the absence of fear, but the decision to keep moving forward despite it. By choosing to speak hope instead of fear, resilience instead of worry, we allow ourselves and those we love to live with greater peace, knowing that no matter what the future holds, we are facing it with courage and grace. Life teaches us many lessons, but one of the most important is knowing what to share and what to keep within ourselves. As we grow older, we may feel the urge to speak more openly, to unburden our hearts by sharing our regrets, financial struggles, opinions about family health, concerns and fears. But wisdom reminds us that not every truth needs to be spoken. Not every thought needs to be voiced. Words once released have power. They can heal or they can hurt. They can bring families closer or create quiet distances that never fully close. We love making them carry burdens they were never meant to bear. A child should not feel responsible for their parents' regrets, nor should they feel trapped in the financial or emotional struggles of someone they admire. Love is about connection, but it is also about protection. Protecting the dignity of our relationships, the peace within our homes, and the strength of the bonds we have spent a lifetime building. This does not mean we should isolate ourselves or pretend that life is perfect. It simply means choosing our words with care, ensuring that when we speak, our voices uplift rather than weigh down, inspire rather than discourage. Instead of dwelling on past regrets, we can offer wisdom that helps the next generation avoid the same mistakes. Instead of openly discussing financial hardships, we can teach the value of responsibility and independence. Instead of voicing every disappointment or criticism about family members, we can encourage harmony and understanding. Instead of making illness the center of our conversations, we can focus on the life and love that still remain. And instead of speaking fear into the future, we can show resilience, proving that even in our later years we are still capable of strength, wisdom, and grace. At this stage of life, peace becomes more valuable than pride, and dignity is worth more than the temporary relief of venting emotions. Choosing silence at times is not about deception. It is about wisdom. It is about recognizing that some burdens are ours to carry so that those we love can walk freely. It is about understanding that the greatest legacy we can leave behind is not one of regret or fear, but one of love, resilience, and unwavering strength. So as we continue forward, let us choose our words, not just for our own sake, but for the sake of the relationships that matter most. Because in the end, What we leave behind in the hearts of those we love is far more important than anything we ever felt the need to say. As we grow older, relationships change. But what happens when a wife, after decades of marriage, starts feeling distant from her husband? What causes a woman who once adored her partner to slowly withdraw, lose that spark, and feel indifferent? It is a reality that many couples face. Yet, few talk about the slow fading of affection, the subtle shifts in behavior, and the quiet frustration that builds over time. It does not happen overnight. Instead, it results from years of unmet needs, unspoken words, and overlooked moments. The reason is not always what you think. It is not about falling out of love. It is about realizing what love should feel like. Often it comes down to very practical reasons. Today we will explore why women as they get older start feeling differently about their husbands, and what can be done to change it before it is too late. Whether you are a husband, a wife, or someone curious about long-term relationships, stay with me until the end. This may change the way you see love, aging, and marriage forever. Before we begin, I'd really appreciate it if you like this video. It helps me keep sharing more important lessons. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend hitting the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Also, if you enjoy this video, please comment 1. If you don't, comment 0 so I know how to improve. Now let's get started. 1. The emotional labor becomes too heavy. For years, many women take on the role of emotional caretakers in their marriages. They remember birthdays, planned family gatherings, schedule doctor appointments, and manage the household. However, as they grow older, they realize that this invisible work has taken a toll on them. Here's the harsh truth. Most men do not even realize it is happening. Women start to feel like they're carrying the marriage on their backs, while their husbands simply exist within it. 2. A lack of meaningful communication. In the early years, conversations are full of curiosity. How was your day? What are you thinking about? Tell me your dreams. But as time goes on, many husbands stop engaging in deep, meaningful conversations with their wives. Instead, the dialogue becomes routine, predictable, or worse, non-existent. A woman craves emotional intimacy just as much as she craves companionship. Without it, she starts to feel unseen, unheard, and unappreciated. 3. The burden of housework never ends. One of the most common complaints among women in long-term marriages is the never-ending burden of housework. Studies show that even in modern times, women still do the majority of household chores, even after retirement. By the time they reach their senior years, many are simply tired of it. What starts as small annoyances, dirty dishes left in the sink, clothes not put away, eventually turns into deep resentment. The woman begins to wonder, why do I have to keep doing everything? 4. She outgrows the relationship, but he. As women age, many seek personal growth. They want to travel, learn new things, and engage with the world. But if their husband refuses to evolve and grow with them, they start to feel stuck, like they are outgrowing the marriage itself. If a woman feels she's evolving while her partner remains stagnant, the emotional gap between them grows wider and wider over time. This widening gap can create feelings of isolation, making her question whether the relationship is still fulfilling. 5. A loss of physical and emotional intimacy. Intimacy is not just about physical closeness. It is about feeling emotionally connected and desired. Over time, many couples lose this spark. And for a woman, this loss can feel like a sign that love itself is fading. If she no longer feels desired, if she no longer sees that spark of admiration in her husband's eyes, she will begin to emotionally detach. When intimacy, both physical and emotional, disappears, a woman may feel more like a roommate than a life partner. Without genuine affection, appreciation, and connection, she starts to withdraw, not out of anger, but out of quiet resignation. 6. Retirement changes everything, but not always for the better. Retirement is often seen as the golden chapter of life, a time to relax, travel, and enjoy each other's company. However, for many couples, it becomes a source of tension. Suddenly they're spending all their time together, and many men struggle to adjust. Some enter retirement with no clear plan, going from working full-time to sitting around unsure of what to do. Unfortunately, in many marriages, this shift means the wife suddenly becomes her husband's entertainment committee. He may expect her to fill his time, take care of him, and be his constant companion. For a woman who has spent her entire life managing responsibilities, this can be overwhelming. Instead of retirement bringing peace, it can feel suffocating, like she has lost the freedom she was looking forward to. Without separate hobbies, friendships, or interests, she begins to feel trapped in a life she did not sign up for. This resentment, if left unaddressed, can quietly erode her love for her husband. 7. She no longer feels heard or appreciated. One of the most painful experiences in marriage is not fighting, it is feeling invisible. Many women, after years of being the emotional backbone of the family, reach a point where they feel like their voices no longer matter. They express concerns, share their feelings, and try to engage in meaningful conversations. Yet their husbands do not truly listen. A wife does not need grand gestures. She needs to feel heard. She needs to know that her thoughts, opinions, and emotions still matter to the person she has spent decades with. When that stops happening, she begins to emotionally withdraw. Once she does, it is difficult to come back from. If a woman feels ignored long enough, she stops trying, and once she stops trying, love turns into quiet resentment. 8. She realizes life is short and wants more. As people age, they begin to see life differently. They lose friends, attend more funerals, and start to understand how precious time really is. This realization forces many women to reflect on their lives. As people age, they begin to see life differently. They lose friends, attend more funerals, and understand that time is precious. For many women, this realization makes them look at their marriage in a new light. They start asking themselves difficult questions. Am I happy? Do I feel loved? Is this how I want to spend the rest of my years? If the answers are not satisfying, they may begin to withdraw, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. Many women reach a stage where they no longer want to fight, nag, or beg for attention. Instead, they simply focus on their own well-being. If their husband does not meet them halfway, they quietly detach emotionally and sometimes even physically.